Welcome, scholars. Today we're going to be looking at the Crusades and anti-Semitism, and really how the two go hand in hand throughout the Middle Ages, but really how anti-Semitism preceded the Crusades and was enhanced by and continued after the Crusades as well. So today, lesson 1-3.7, the Crusades and anti-Semitism. To begin with, anti-Semitism, generally speaking, is prejudice against or hatred of Jews. This is either as a national, ethnic, or religious group, although in general terms, anti-Semitism is considered a form of racism. So one who is an anti-Semite is a racist against the race of Jews. Now, for a long time, basically since the existence of the Jewish faith, and we're going back almost 6,000 years here, anti-Semitism has been the cause of some horrific, tragic events, including really some of the worst in human history. Just going to highlight here the Holocaust. This was the murder of 6,000 Jews during World War II as just the most recent of these events. It stands out to us because its general proximity to our time, only being about 70 years ago, and additionally, because of how condensed it was, 6 million Jews in just under 15 years. However, it is not the most intensive example of anti-Semitism in all of history. Looking at pure numbers, if we go back to the Crusades and the number of Jews that were killed during that 200-year period of time, it far exceeds the Holocaust. So this has got a deep, dark history in the world. Anti-Semitism is a very dangerous thing. Now, the origins of anti-Semitism. As I said before, it has been around almost as long as the Jewish faith has been around. But we're going to focus here on the origins of anti-Semitism in the Crusades. It has to do with some Christian traditions leading the Jewish community to be viewed as outsiders to the regular community. This includes some restrictive marriage laws within the Jewish faith. One way that communities become interconnected is through marriage. But within Jewish tradition, Jews can only marry other Jews. If you're not marrying outside of that group, you're not building those other familial connections that can tie you in and sometimes lead to more safety. Also, there are dietary restrictions, which led to Jews not participating in many common festivals that are surrounded by food and beverage and so on. Because of those dietary restrictions, Jews weren't partaking in that. They weren't marrying into the community, so they were being seen as this other separate group. Additionally, Christians have historically disliked Jews because of this pretty false perception that Jews were responsible for the death of Jesus. This ties into the narrative that it was Jews that condemned Jesus Christ to death on the cross, which has a seed of historical accuracy in that Jesus was a Jew living in a Jewish community, but the Jewish community itself was merely adhering to Roman law. Jesus was a heretic. Jesus was inciting rebellion in the eyes of Roman leaders. These are crimes punishable by crucifixion within the Roman Empire, and the Romans crucified tens of thousands of people in their day. And this was the Jews adhering to Roman law and turning over a heretic to the proper authorities. So in that sense, yes, but I really believe that the death of Jesus has got to fall more heavily on the Romans as they wrote the law and they enforced the law. Now, anti-Semitism in the Middle Ages. Jewish communities in medieval Europe really did thrive, and I use that word kind of loosely here. They thrive in comparison to the serfs and, to a large degree, the freemen that existed throughout Middle Ages. But please do remember that we're still talking about a time where most medieval residents are in serfdom. Um, Jews were largely outside of that serfdom system, partially because Jews were barred from owning land. They were not allowed to own or work land under a number of medieval laws. This was done intentionally to keep Jews out of positions of power in a society that viewed land ownership as the pathway to great power and great wealth. But as medieval society starts to shift, particularly with those trade routes and those market towns popping up because of the pilgrimage trade and the Crusades and all this stuff that we've talked about before, it actually plays to the benefit of the Jewish communities because they were among the first to focus on skilled trades. This was their only way to make a living. And as the skilled trades lead into greater and greater wealth and greater access to the middle class, we actually see a blossoming of Jewish culture and Jewish wealth in a number of these communities. Most notably, the banking industry begins to thrive as people are taking out loans, but Christians, due to Christian law, are not allowed to charge interest. They call it usury. So if a Christian cannot charge interest on a loan, they can't actually make any money by loaning out money, and therefore every loan is risk with no reward. Jews have no such restriction. They can charge interest. So if a Christian needed money, they were going to a Jew to borrow money. This leads to the wealth of the Jewish community, but additionally, nobody really loves the people that we owe money to. So there starts to be an even greater disconnect between the Jewish community and Christians. This is really comes to a breaking point in the First Crusade in the most horrific of ways. This relative success of the medieval Jews make them a target. And the poorer Christian communities start to blame their poverty on wealthier Jews. I'm poor because these guys are wealthy. They've got all the money, and that's why I don't have enough of it. So how do I get their money? Well, I kill them and take it from them. And this was the view of many Christians during the Crusades, particularly during the first wave of the First Crusade, something we brushed over a couple lessons ago. This is something called the People's Crusade. It was not well organized. It was largely just masses of poor Christians moving slowly through Europe on their way to the Holy Land. On their way, they said, hey, why do we need to wait till we get to the Holy Land to fight against heathens and infidels when we have Jewish communities right here? And while we're at it, we can purge the land of all these infidels, non-Christians, and we can take their wealth. We can get our money back. And that's exactly what they did. We had mass slaughters, tremendous communities of Jews just wiped out, particularly in the Holy Roman Empire, but you also see this happening in France. Jewish communities that are slaughtered and burned, executed for really no crime at all, simply just the fact that they were Jews and they were a little bit better off than their Christian neighbors. We see this in other crusades as well, and really throughout the entire crusading period. The People's Crusade was probably one of the more intense moments of it, but we do see 200 years of that type of action, Jewish communities being attacked. We see this in Western Europe. We see this in the Holy Land. We briefly talked about it with the initial sacking of Jerusalem and Antioch, where these Crusader armies went into places like Jerusalem and just slaughtered the non-Christian population. They weren't Christian. They were killed. And this included a whole lot of Jews, obviously Muslims as well. The Inquisition is another example of it, and kind of famous example of anti-Semitism. Inquisitions were common throughout the Middle Ages. Jews and Muslims were forced to leave specific areas. So a feudal lord would make a declaration, such and such county, all Muslims and Jews must leave. You are no longer welcome here. One way that a Muslim or a Jew could get out of this would be to convert to Christianity. But those who feel strong about their religion, they're not just going to convert because somebody asked them to. So they were either forced to leave or they were rounded up and in many cases tortured until they converted or died. Burning at the stake was a very common way to execute heretics. The Christian faith of the Middle Ages actually believed that you could purify the soul through fire. So they were saving the Jews by burning them alive. Pretty gross. Once again, this class is social bloodies. And we have the idea that we can purify, that is, save a soul by burning somebody alive. That is horrific. Additionally, those who didn't burn alive were frequently tortured. This is one way that they might be tortured. This is being broken on the wheel. You tie the legs in place, you turn the wheel, stretch out the body, and pretty soon you are separating the bones from the sinews. You are breaking the body. Pretty soon your elbow joints pop, your knee joints pop, your back breaks. Pretty gruesome. And especially, this really fragments European communities. We see Spain, which under Islamic rule had been very tolerant of all religions. We went over that before. The Islamic rulers in Spain, generally speaking, were welcoming of Christians and Jews. And because of this welcoming, we had this flourishing academic intellectual communities, most notably in Cordoba. That's the one that we talked about before. But in Spain, as the Reconquista brings Christianity back to Spain, the Spanish Inquisition, which was the most brutal of all the Inquisitions, really shatters this intellectual community in Cordoba. And it's quite a shame all that learning was lost. Inquisition is not something that the Christian community looks back on and says, hey, we got that right. No, modern Christians look back at that and they even recognize this was a mistake. That's it for anti-Semitism in the Crusades. Next up, we are going to be looking at, I don't remember what we're looking at next. I guess you'll have to tune in to the next lesson to find out. I'll see you then.